AI has a public opinion problem. Back in 2022, when ChatGPT launched, AI felt a bit like magic. But now, the spell seems to be wearing off. AI's net approval among Americans is worse than ICE, the country's immigration agency. Cynically, though, I wonder whether all this public opposition will actually make any difference. These companies keep pushing AI tools regardless of whether people actually want them, and the stock market is betting we will all eventually start paying to use AI. So, will the public backlash slow AI's spread? I put that question to Nilay Patel. He's editor-in-chief of The Verge and host of the Decoder podcast.
I've written about consumer technology for a long time, and the way the tech industry thinks about their products and the way regular consumers experience those products has never been aligned. It's not that we're choosing to use these tools, it's that they are being put in front of us relentlessly. And the choices we're making, I think the best one to measure is how many people pay, and that number is vanishingly small compared to the usage numbers the tech industry likes to tout, and those usage numbers are totally inflated by how unavoidable the products are.
Why do you think that in a very short space of time, 3 years, people have soured on this product so much?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons why. The simplest, I think that polling about ICE and AI polling worse than ICE is really just reflective of threats. It's like a list of threats. What is a threat to your happiness? What is a threat to your job? What is a threat to your vitality as a person, to your overall success as a human being? And ICE is on that list for most Americans, right? This is going to come and disrupt your communities, and we've all seen the videos, we've all seen the horrific effects. AI is right there. This is a technology that very obviously feels disruptive to most people. And then the CEOs of the companies are running around saying, we're going to get rid of all the lawyers in the world. All the accountants are gone. All these white collar jobs are gone. And they have made no promises in return. If we destroy the legal profession, what will we get in return? And the answer, so far as anyone can tell, is they will have to deal with fewer lawyers. And that is not a good answer for everyday Americans.
Some people have said to me, and I find this a little patronizing, the way you feel about AI is basically the way you feel about the world in general. Do you think that's broadly true? Do you think pessimists tend to feel pessimistic about this disruptive technology and optimists tend to feel optimistic about it?
I would just broaden that out slightly. I agree with the shape of it. I think it is more reflective of how you feel about power and who wields it. And if you're feeling optimistic that our oligarchs and politicians are doing a good job, maybe you're feeling optimistic. If you feel negatively about how responsible or accountable our billionaires and our politicians are, it is very natural, I think, to also feel very negatively about the technology they're foisting upon you, right? And a technology that in particular threatens to dehumanize you. There is I can make a positive case for AI, I think, very easily. There's a world in which it is even easier to start your own business and even easier to be in charge of your own economic freedom because you no longer have to do a bunch of administrative tasks. That is a very positive case for AI. Most other people are not trying to start small businesses. They're not trying to start HVAC contracting companies or whatever it is that people want to do. They're just trying to have a job and feed their kids and go to bed at night feeling secure. And AI is threatening to disrupt that in all kinds of ways. And there's no corresponding promise of agency or control.
Which is why we get the numbers we do, right? So we get 2/3 of Americans believing that the risks of AI outweigh the potential benefits, which is quite an impressive number. And yet square a circle for me, because 2/3 of Americans may say, we're afraid of this thing. We think it might take our jobs away. We don't like it, but I'm going to wake up in the morning and use it anyway.
I think those numbers are skewed. I think they confuse the tech industry in particular all the time. The ability of the tech industry to foist products onto people is so high that they have forgotten that these are not actually choices. So free ChatGPT is, everyone loves to tout how popular it is. And I think it's 900 million weekly users. Only a fraction of those people have chosen to pay money. It's certainly not enough for OpenAI to be profitable, right? Like only a tiny fraction of those people have made the second affirmative choice to pay money. All the people who downloaded ChatGPT, 2 years ago during that period you're describing, They were driven to it because it was such a better experience than Google search at that time. But now we're in a place where everyone has experienced the products, right? Google has the exact same AI results. ChatGPT has the free version and the paid version. The free version is getting noticeably worse over time as they try to run it more economically. We all open up our social media feeds and we're inundated with slop. There is a constant fight about every movie poster in the world about whether it was made with AI. Everyone is experiencing these products. And I don't think they're any good, particularly the free ones that are cost efficient to run. I think the experiences people are having are bad. And you can connect that directly to how they feel about the disruption.
So let's talk about then the response of the industries to all of this polling and a negative perception of AI. You've written about how these companies have something called software brain, that they basically don't like to see, as far as I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, they don't like to see that there's a problem with a product. They just think this is a communications or a marketing issue. Is that what software brain is?
Let me pull that apart a little bit. Yes, I think it's the second order effect of software brain, right? That we just have a marketing problem. The first order effect is the tech industry would really much prefer it if you were a computer, right? If you would just conform your behavior to the computer and you would act in a way that was legible to the machine and make yourself more of a database, then they could do the thing they know how to do best, which is write software code to manipulate the database.
Okay, that's a genuinely terrifying vision of the world. But anyway, yes, carry on.
But it is everything. Once you see the world this way, you realize most of our lives are mediated by databases. You and I right now talking over a video link, there is a database of videos that are being created on the back end that you will then download and manipulate and edit, and then you will upload to YouTube, which is just a giant database of videos that has a recommendation algorithm and an ad algorithm, and it creates billions of dollars of value. The software industry with AI is like, oh man, if only more things were databases, the AI would have even more context, be able to take even more action. And so they are trying to flatten us into data. And so all of the devices that are out right now, the sort of cutting edge AI devices, they all look like things that you hang around your neck, you wear on your wrist, and they record everything that happens. They record all of your conversations. They show up in your Zoom meetings, whatever it is. And they're just trying to capture as much data as possible in order to take some action on the database that is then created. I do not think that this is particularly human, right? Like that is not how I feel. You can't record my interactions with my family in some database. And I certainly don't want you putting an always on recording device in my house to try to figure it out. And this is a real gap. This is where software brain comes from. If only we had all the data, if only you were predictable, if only we could model this machine, we could turn it into software, and then we can make all the money that turning things into software usually makes. The second order effect is, boy, we have a marketing problem because we haven't convinced anyone that that's a good idea. And that's why they hate AI. And that's really where the disconnect comes in.
You mentioned the fact that this is getting harder to monetize because fewer and fewer people are prepared to pay for these products. So is that something that could impact the decisions of the companies themselves? I mean, I'm trying to think if there is any amount of unpopularity. I don't think they care about the polls. I don't think it bothers them that they're less popular than ICE is. But I imagine that they do care about money.
They care about the polls in one specific way. They know that data centers are unpopular. They know that people have thrown Molotov cocktails at Sam Altman's house, which is very unfortunate, and no one should do that. And they know that consumer sentiment towards them and their products and their ambitions is at an all-time low. If you can block a bunch of data centers and that's the only available political opposition you have, people are going to take it. And we can already see that happening. There's recent Gallup polling, I believe, that says 7 in 10 Americans now oppose data center construction.
Yeah, I think this is the sleeper issue of the midterm elections.
Without question. And it might not even be a sleeper issue. It might just be in the forefront. Like this is a very physical thing that politicians can go stand in front of and say, this is bad. So I think they care about the polling in that sense. The connection I would make is these are consumer issues. And the argument I'm making is there's not a great consumer AI product that overcomes these issues. There might be a great business AI product. We can see it with Claude Code. We can see it with OpenAI's Codex. And so in the business world, there is what you would call product market fit, right? Particularly in software development. Software development is not everything. And so the tech industry, as myopic as they are and software focused as they are, realizes they've solved coding. They think thus they have solved everything else, and they are way out over their skis. And I do not think there's a great consumer product that justifies all of this change for regular people. In fact, the consumer products, the free consumer products, are getting worse.
And the upsides in education and human capital and healthcare, people haven't seen enough of yet, directly impacting their own lives.
I have yet to have anyone on, at least on Decoder or at The Verge, truly articulate the value in education, right? We've heard some anecdotes, but the movements to get computers out of school is just as vibrant, if not more so, than the movement to put AI in schools. In healthcare, I think there are some outcomes, but healthcare, again, is an enterprise application. That's not something you should be doing. It's something doctors and clinicians and researchers and hospital systems should be figuring out how to deploy technology to make your healthcare outcomes better and safer and more, and have you be more compliant, right? Like, my parents are doctors, and the thing they will tell me is we can tell people how to be healthier all the time. They simply won't listen to us. Maybe there's something to be done there. Still as yet undefined. When I asked Sundar Pichai on the Decoder podcast recently what he thought the application that would convince consumers of the benefit of AI was, he actually did point to healthcare. So there's something there that does seem powerful. The ChatGPT moment you're talking about several years ago, that could have been Google's moment. Google invented the core technology here. They invented the transformer. They published it in a paper called Attention is All You Need. They're very quick to remind you that the T in ChatGPT stands for transformer, and Google invented it. And they did not release it. They thought the safety concerns were too high. They did not think the technology was ready. OpenAI was a research lab. They released it as a preview. They did not think anyone would use it. And I think it's human nature to just talk to something that is talking to you. And that happened. It took off, and now here we are. And no one sat to carefully invent the guidelines, to carefully invent the safety protocols. We are rushing to backfill that in an industry that is chasing IPOs and ever increasing amounts of profit.
So Nilay, before we go throw this forward, do you think this wave of opposition, public opposition, and the opinion polls and all of that does have any impact on the politicians who have the power to impose the regulations that could change some of the outcomes? Or how optimistic or pessimistic do you feel about that?
I feel like opposing big tech has always been a political winner. It is on both sides of the aisle and has been for a long time. Former President Barack Obama has been on Decoder. He was on Decoder to talk about regulating AI. And he very directly said to me, we failed to regulate social media. We should not make that same mistake twice. We should regulate big tech this time. But I think there are so many politicians who just ran up against the brick wall of wanting to regulate tech companies in the social media era who are not going to do it again. They are going to find a way. And they know they have a political winner in opposing data center buildouts and calling these out-of-touch billionaires and saying they shouldn't have this much power. But I do not think politicians on either side of the aisle want to miss the opportunity again.
Well, I love the idea that you have confidence in Washington, D.C. Nilay,
I have confidence in the cynicism
refreshing
of
to
politics. To be clear, I do not have confidence in the operation of the government. I have confidence that politicians are cynical and will do whatever it takes to gain and maintain power.
And if opinion polls move that way, they'll be watching.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I do agree with you. Nilay Patel, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you. That was a great discussion.
This was really fun. Thank you so much.